everybody, my name is Bragster and welcome back to another episode of F1 Manager. This time we have the Japanese Grand Prix and the US Grand Prix. We've already played through the Japanese Grand Prix, and to say it was manic is an absolute understatement. I'm just going to let Connor take you through it. Yeah, this was an absolutely manic race, and it began actually in qualifying with the fact that it ended up being a wet qualifying, so the rain ended up drying up quite a lot onto the track. So we ended up going out on softs. We're the only ones that went out on softs and took this opportunity on this slightly drier track. Everyone else went out on the inters. The only problem was Norris got stuck behind Vettel. It was incredibly frustrating. But he got stuck behind Vettel the entire time, which meant although he improved his time, he didn't improve it enough and ended up getting eliminated in Q1. But luckily, Danny Ric was able to get through. And yes, he did manage to get through, but as you all know, Danny Ric in this McLaren car isn't fast enough to get through to Q3. So it was a matter of how high up could Danny Ric finish, and unfortunately for us, it wasn't that high up. It ended up being around 12th, 13th, but with a few people having to take penalties, we ended up in 10th and 16th. The two strategies was with Danny Ric, we were going softs, mediums to inters with the rain on its way, and on Norris, we went from mediums to inters. We knew in the position that Norris was in, we had to go for a one-stop strategy, as it would be the only way to get Norris higher up that track. And we needed some really quick movements up the track, and Norris did manage to overtake Vettel, and Ricciardo managed to overtake Zhou and Gasly, which was huge for us, really. And then Norris managed to overtake more of the Aston Martins and more of the Williamses as time went by, as you can see, overtaking Stroll there, and then also managing in the exact same light to overtake the Williams, almost in the exact same move. It was lovely to see by Lando Norris, and just showed his intentions really going forward, and we needed him to have that same intent for the entire race. And the start of all of the drama really that happened in this race was there was a crash into this wall. You'll see this wall very often in this race for whatever reason, but there did happen to be a crash for one of the Ferraris, and we also ended up seeing Danny Ric overtaking one of the Alpines, which was lovely to see. Danny Ric was really doing well in this race for the majority of it, especially at the start of this. It was lovely to see, but once we pitted him, we ended up coming out really far back, which came as almost like a shock to us really. Ended up coming out in 18th, and we were like, this is not good. And we started to panic. Maybe our strategy was wrong the entire time. And things just got worse for Danny Ric really. As you saw there, Stroll going wide on that corner and then causing problems and holding up Danny Ric, which did cause a virtual safety car. And during that virtual safety car, a lot of cars did end up pitting, but because we're on this one-stop strategy with Norris, we didn't end up pitting. So a lot of people ended up pitting for some softs or maybe some fresher mediums. So Norris ended up in 4th there, but unfortunately, he was obviously going to lose a few places. He wasn't on as good of tyres, as you can see the Mercedes on there on the softs. So we knew he was going to lose a few places, and it all started here where Hamilton overtook him. But further back down the track with Danny Ric finally managed to try and make some moves on the Williamses and the Aston Martins. I'm realising with all these races getting a bit manic towards the end of this season, the Williams and the Aston Martins are really starting to get on everybody's nerves in this one. And the crashes continued. The same wall, different driver. Zhou crashed into that wall, and it caused an opening for us really, and it made sure that we didn't have to focus on anyone else. Unfortunately though, Norris did end up getting overtaken again, twice actually in the exact same move, which is not really what you want to see. But when the rain started coming, we ended up pitting our boys for inters, and it came far earlier than we expected, which was a shame really, because we were hoping to eke out more out of the tyres that we were on. But we didn't manage to do that, but it didn't put us in the worst position in the world, as we ended up in 10th and 13th there. So we weren't too concerned. As someone that should have been concerned was Verstappen, who ended up actually spinning there, who hadn't ended up pitting up to that point just yet, which we had no idea why. But although that happened, overtakes were still going to happen. We had Ferraris near us, we had Red Bulls near us. We knew they were going to overtake, and they did continue to overtake. And what's this? Is this wall appearing again? It is, and it's Danny Rick. Luckily though, Danny Rick didn't end up crashing into the wall. He just about avoided that wall. But someone who didn't avoid the wall was Leclerc, who ended up going into the wall there, and that was not pretty whatsoever. And the Ferraris were having a lot of problems, as they ended up crashing into the walls. Again, for whatever reason, this wall proved a problem for absolutely everybody, and you might be thinking that we've been overtaken by the Red Bulls before. We haven't been overtaken by the Red Bulls before, but this is the other one. This is Verstappen now. Verstappen and Perez ended up swapping quite often during this race, so we keep looking like we're getting overtaken by Red Bulls, and we are getting overtaken by Red Bulls, but it's a different one and different drivers every single time. So I promise you, we're not getting deja vu over and over again. These are different drivers. And then heading towards the end of the race now, were the crashes over? No, they were not, as Ferrari had a problem yet again with that wall. And it got from bad to worse. We ended up going behind a safety car because of that crash by Leclerc. And I thought we were going to have to finish the race behind the safety car. But no, we weren't. And with the pit stops that happened because of the safety car, we ended up 6th and 9th. Going into the restart, and we were begging, absolutely begging to make up places, but that wasn't going to happen. Apart from Norris actually managing to overtake Verstappen, although the Red Bulls over and over again throughout this race kept overtaking us, we managed to get the last lap with Norris, finishing in 5th, getting us 10 points, and Danny Rick ended up getting us 2 points. It wasn't the most overly successful race, but it wasn't a disappointing one at that, and it helped the drivers in their standings, as Danny Rick did end up losing a place, but Norris ended up keeping that 6th place, with the constructors' standings showing Mercedes to be a problem. Right, so now you caught up. We are here at the US Grand Prix. We need a good one. Mercedes, unfortunately, had a very, very good Japanese Grand Prix. So we really, really need a good US Grand Prix if we stand any chance of catching them up. We're pretty much done with Alpine at this point, but surely we need to try and catch Mercedes, and that might require winning another race. Looking at our performance targets for this one, we are obviously going to say that we're going to reach both qualifying, both sessions of qualifying, and we're going to finish in the top 10. I'm quite confident of that. And then we've obviously got the qualifying streak and the position streak. The qualifying streak was broken because Norris got held up. It's really annoying, but that's why it got broken. Holy Mary, Mother of God. Look at all of these penalties. Finally, we're seeing other teams take penalties. Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Bottas, Hamilton, Zhou, who else? Mick Schumacher, Ocon, Latifi, all have penalties. We don't have penalties. They do. That is huge, because that might mean that we have a very good chance of qualifying really highly here, and maybe even outscoring some of these Mercedes, and maybe even the Red Bulls and stuff, if they take really massive hits to their position. Right, so Norris and Ricciardo are on their first flying laps in Q1. I'm not really concerned about Q1. I never usually am. But these first laps actually look like we're possibly not going to get held up. It's Perez currently in front of Norris, and I think Norris will catch him up, but I think it'll be after the finish line, as he's catching him up right now, and he only got a little bit slow right at the end, but I think that'll be enough to get us through. When we look at Danny Rick has been pretty smooth all the way through as well. He avoided all traffic, so I can't imagine Danny Rick's going to find any troubles himself as he goes through now. And again, he doesn't find himself any troubles. So I think that should be enough, but anything can change in Formula 1. Right, okay, I am taking a huge risk here as Russell locked up, but I think that was on the lap before, so I don't think that's actually going to affect his time, and he's okay anyway, he's above us. But I'm taking a risk. I'm going out on the used softs because the softs got eaten up by 20% there, so off of one lap. So I'm kind of not... I'm very concerned actually about the softs. So what I've decided to do is send them both out on the used softs. So at least I've sent them out again. And if they improve the time, they improve the time. Although they probably won't. But I'm banking on the fact that everyone else finishes below us. Tsunoda has already come in slower than us. So has Albon. We should be fine. Ocon crashed. Okay, this is actually quite big news. Because this is the Alpines, remember, that we've been rivaling with all season. The Alpine just goes straight into the wall there. And that could put them in a lot of trouble. They might get away with it. I don't know if they will, though. I'm hoping we'll kind of get to see that we're getting to see Alpine's reaction now, but I'm hoping we get to see what in the world is going on here, as Ocon hasn't finished his lap yet, so people could still improve their times and knock him out, but I don't think they will. I think Ocon's going to get away with it. But however, it's made our plan seem really seem to work really well. Norris and Ricciardo both through to Q2 and both have 2 fresh pairs of softs from here on out, so we're in a brilliant position. Right, so we're into Q2, and there was an obvious question: would Ocon make it? And Ocon has made it. He's not had to retire. Ocon is now out of the pit, so Ocon is in this now, which is a little bit annoying, I'm not going to lie, because I was hoping he'd be out, because that would help us massively. However, that's just not happened. So Norris has put in a brilliant time there. I don't know whether Leclerc got held up. If not, that is a brilliant time. We'll go to Ricciardo, who again I don't think got held up. So this should be brilliant. Mick Schumacher as well, someone who doesn't usually get through Q1, managing to get through Q1 there. So that should be someone that we do end up finishing above, as actually we've outdone Hamilton there. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens. Remember, we do have to go out again. Right, so after going out the first time, we've ended up currently in 5th and 7th, which is really good. Qualifying above the Alpines, qualifying above the Mercedes. All of it is looking great so far, but obviously there's a chance they've been held up. So this is the lap that matters now. We're getting towards that major lap. Hopefully we manage to get at least 1 car into Q3. I'm hoping for maybe 2 cars through to Q3. I don't think that will happen, but we've got to hope and pray, right? We've got to hope for it. Russell is guaranteed to qualify behind us. So is Tsunoda, so that's brilliant for us. Managing to actually out-qualify a Mercedes is huge. I know that's only with Norris currently, but we could still improve with Danny Rick, as we don't improve with Danny Rick, and Norris ends up getting that 9th spot by the looks of it. And Russell is out. Russell was actually out. He finished in 11th, but Norris is through to Q3, which is huge for us. And if we look at the way everything is standing right now, yes, he's in 12th, but we have got Mick, Lewis and Bottas all with penalties. Right, so here we are on our flying lap, and we are currently in 10th and quite comfortably in 10th as well. However, we did go out on the used softs. These are the fresh softs, so we should improve in every single sector and improve our time overall. Mick did out-qualify us in the first bit, but surely we've got to out-qualify Mick. I don't know how Mick Schumacher, who usually gets eliminated in Q1 every single time, is currently in Q3. It's a bit ridiculous in my opinion, but he's there. He didn't really improve his time, so I'm expecting Norris to improve his time and out-qualify him. I mean, the further up we can get Norris, the better, especially with all these penalties left, right and centre. Norris has gone green in every single sector. What's he going to result in? He has improved his time. He has finished above Mick. And we have qualified in 9th, but that could change with all of these penalties. Right, so we've got a dilemma. Basically, on both cars, our gearbox is struggling. It's getting to that sort of 40%-ish level where it starts to drop off. Because that one's at, what, 38. So this one's at 45, the other one's at like 46. So it's gone down like 2 or 3% in just qualifying and practice alone. And I'm worried for it. I'm worried that it's going to drop off towards the end of this race. And I'm thinking with everyone else, with everyone else taking penalties, do we just take one now and pay the price and deal with it? or do we try and take advantage? Do you know what? We're going to risk it. We're going to take advantage. I've already brought the new parts, so they're ready to go. We will need them for the next race, and these car parts will drop off during this race, but I think we just got to go with it and risk it because we're starting in 4th and 6th. That's right. Those penalties have resulted in us being really far up this track, so I think we've got to take advantage of that, and we're trying to with these two strategies. On Danny Rick, we're going softs, hards, mediums, whereas with Norris, we're going mediums, hards, mediums. Basically, Ricciardo's got a fresh pair of softs, so we may as well put them to good use at the start of this race, and then move on to the hards and the mediums, which work better on this track, and also have longer lasting life. Norris doesn't have that luxury, so he's going mediums, hard, mediums. I'm deciding to end them both on mediums. Quite frankly, mediums are a faster tyre. They're going to be a better one to end the race on. So that's kind of my thinking, is we can kind of relax in the middle of the race and then push on towards the end. Danny Rick's kind of hoping for a safety car at some point, just because the life on his tyres are slim. They are very slim, whereas with Norris, less so. So if there is a safety car, we're hoping for the timing to be right with Norris, whereas with Danny Rick, any safety car will kind of help him out because then he can rest his tyres. It's going to be an interesting race for sure. Right, and here we go. Danny Rick in 6th, Norris in 4th. The grid is currently Leclerc, Gasly, Magnussen, Norris, and Russell, then Danny Rick. But there's already been an overtake as Norris has taken Magnussen very early on, which is very nice to see. Danny Rick's managing to hold off Tsunoda, which is huge. Norris has taken him, so we'll watch that back because it was only in the distance. But it was a lovely takeover on the first corner as well. Perfectly taking Magnussen. That's exactly what we like to see. Could a podium be in place for McLaren here? I said that we had to take a risk, and this was one of them. Just take that risk of going out on this gearbox and hoping that it lasts us to the end of the race. But you've got the likes of Perez, Sainz, Verstappen all at the back of this grid. It's fascinating. The Alpines are currently in 11th and 12th. Vettel's currently in the top 10. That should show how mental this is. As I think Norris has just done another overtake on Gasly here, which would be huge, as I thought Danny Rick might actually be taking Russell on the softer tyres. That doesn't seem to be the case. Or is it the case, actually? I think he did manage to take Russell. That is incredible. But this is what we're talking about here. Norris managing to overtake. Even though the other two are on those softer tyres, we're on those mediums. So the fact that we're managing to do those overtakes now is absolutely huge. We will actually check on what tyres everyone else is on, because I didn't expect all these bigger ones that were in Q3 to be on the softer tyres, but they are, as Danny Rick actually has officially taken over Russell there. As we'll look at the tyres, it's very mixed. We've definitely split the strategies. I think a lot of people have split the strategies of one on mediums, one on softs, and that's exactly what we've done. If Norris can end up staying in touch and distance with all these guys, even though they're on the softs, that would be absolutely huge. Norris actually setting the fastest lap there. That's awesome. Wonderful stuff from Lando Norris, as Danny Rick has actually overtaken Magnussen now on the softer tyres against Magnussen's mediums, managing to overtake him very, very easily. This has been a great start for McLaren. I'm really happy with this start, as we needed both of these guys to get in a really good position so we could hold it for the rest of the race, and then hope maybe that the Ferraris and the Red Bulls don't catch us up. And that's exactly what they're doing right now, as we're sitting pretty in 2nd and 4th. Come on, McLaren. Unfortunately, Lando Norris has lost his place to Gasly. It was on the DRS straight. It was expected. Norris lost ground with Leclerc for obvious reasons, and Gasly took advantage on that on the softer tyres. I'm not really too concerned, to be honest. As long as Norris is staying in that pack and not losing ground, I don't really mind that much. Because he'll make that ground up as the race sort of goes on. It is my expectation. This is incredible. So not only did Norris manage to get Gasly back on the straight, but that then led the opportunity for Ricciardo to also take him. So we've currently got someone in second and someone in third. It took Danny Ric a while, so it doesn't really show it on there. But I promise you now, he did actually take Gasly. I made sure of that. Okay, there's no better way of explaining this than actually just showing you what happened. So it's a 3-horse race for second place in this race. And Magnussen managed to overtake actually both McLarens in one go. It happened to be that we were just having the McLarens trade places, and Magnussen realised that and managed to overtake both of them at the same time. Not ideal. Okay, so interesting thing to note is a lot of people are starting to go into the pits. So we've got Leclerc going into the pits. A lot of the people that were on the softs are going into the pits now. We're not planning to go into the pits for a little bit with Danny Ric, who is currently actually leading the race here. A lot of people are actually going into the pits, which is mental to see. Yeah, everyone who was on the softs has now gone in at the exact same time. No question about it, at the exact same time. So Danny Ric's now leading this race. So what I might get him to do is, we have entered the pit window, is almost get him to push hard on these tyres. And kind of deploy, and we'll wait for the next lap. So what we'll do is we will pit him for the hards. We'll say pit this lap, and then we'll actually say pit the next lap. But he's currently predicted to come out in 13th, and that's without the next little push. As I was more options, delay pit stop by 1 lap. That's what we're going to do. So then he gets to push for a little bit on his tyres, and then hopefully leaves that gap then for Magnussen, Norris, etc. to take it, because Perez is catching up. The Red Bulls are catching up, which is highly expected, annoyingly expected. Right, so Danny Ric is about to come in to the pits. I don't know where he's going to end up. It did say 13th before we told him to push, so I'm hoping that since the push, he's going to end up in a really good position, as that pit stop was really, really quick there, 2.2 seconds. He's ended up coming out currently in about this 10th spot, which is huge actually if we manage to come out in 10th. And we do come out in 10th. That is actually huge when you think about it, because we're now on these hards. We're then going onto the mediums as Perez has overtaken Norris. That's fine. We'll deal with that. But yeah, we've come out in 10th and we have pitted. So we're currently first in terms of who's actually pitted. So that's huge for us, because once everyone else pits, you would expect us to actually be top, which is awesome. So annoyingly, Norris has lost a couple of positions. He lost one to Russell and has lost one to Verstappen. He lost DRS with the top 2, and unfortunately that meant that he got overtaken. He is now in DRS range of the other 2, but it's not ideal, is it, at the end of the day? A few people on the mediums are actually starting to pit now. We've had the first pit stop from Perez, which has meant that Norris has now moved up to 3rd. He did manage to overtake Russell, but they've both got DRS on each other, so it wouldn't surprise me if they end up swapping back and forth. But it would be interesting to see where Perez comes out here, because Danny Ric is coming down the straight, and Perez has come out in front of him. So Danny Ric is no longer the person who is pitted, who's actually pitted and is top of those people now. Unfortunately, Perez has taken that. So he managed to actually build up a bit of a gap. But it's still not a complaint at the end of the day. All of these guys have pitted, the likes of Leclerc and Hamilton, and we're still above him. So that's huge. Jesus, so a bunch have gone into the pits now. The likes of Russell and stuff have also gone into the pits. They've ended up all coming out behind Danny Ric. So that just shows how much of a gap Danny Ric managed to build. And Danny Ric is currently on these harder tyres, getting DRS off of Leclerc, who's on medium tyres. So I'm guessing he's going medium, soft maybe, which is actually a strategy that I didn't even consider. But yeah, so it's an interesting one to say the least. But it's good for Danny Ric currently, really good for Danny Ric. For Norris, we need something to happen with Norris, I feel like, at this point. As something happening might actually be him going into first, because Verstappen and Magnussen decided to pit. Right, so Norris is on his final optimum pit stop lap, actually. So we're telling him to push really hard. He's predicted again to come out in this 13th spot. But I do think he's going to come out a little bit further up than that. As a lot of people have pitted. Danny Ric's in a great position, as I said. He's currently in 6th, following Gasly. The usual suspects are at the top though. The Red Bulls and the Ferraris, apart from Sainz, are at the top. It's no surprise really, but it's mightily frustrating them just managing to just rise up really, really quickly. Oh no, no, Danny Rick. There's been a crash. Right, okay. I thought Danny Rick had done something wrong. Did Hamilton go into the back of me? Is that what happened? Hamilton's there. Oh! So it did go into the back of me, but I don't think it did any damage. I think it just minorly bothered me. I don't think it actually did any damage, but Hamilton has gone down, and I think Hamilton might be in a lot of trouble here. And Magnussen's also managed to get a penalty as well. So they've both gotten penalties, which is brilliant for us, actually, because Magnussen and Hamilton were becoming a problem, Hamilton especially. As Norris is in the pits, I completely forgot that Norris was going into the pits, to be completely honest with you, because that Danny Rick situation just took over. That pit stop there, 2.3, I'm really happy with that again. I wonder where Danny Rick is, because Danny Rick's following. He's on this straight now where he's getting overtaken by Sainz. So we could end up, actually, with Norris coming out just behind Danny Rick, which is brilliant. So he does come out just behind Danny Rick. So that's, again, that is absolutely brilliant. Cannot complain whatsoever with that. So we're in a great position with both drivers, actually. 7th and 8th. We've all pitted the same amount as everyone else. So I'm really happy, actually, because I'd be happy with 7th and 8th at the end of this race, really. Okay, so we're getting the second load of pit stops now, which I am surprised about. So they've gone mediums, hards, whereas we've actually gone mediums, hards, mediums. So I didn't realise that, actually, which is reasonably huge, because us going mediums, hards, mediums is the fact that obviously we're meant to be slow on these hards, and we are slow on these hards. However, it's the fact that we're slower, yes, but we're only in 5th and 6th currently. And when we end up pitting, we end up going on to the mediums will be faster than their hards anyway. So, yeah, I feel like we're actually in a really good position with McLaren. We can end up finishing reasonably high. I have expectations currently of at least one of our drivers finishing 5th or 6th at this point. Right, so naturally, the other guys are overtaking us because our hards are starting to wear out a little bit. So apparently Perez has crashed. I don't really know what's happened, but Perez has apparently crashed. He's gone into the... Oh, he's barely gone into the wall. That's actually not too bad for them. Although, I say that, Perez has had to pit again, and he's ended up pitting for the mediums. But the problem is with the Red Bulls is they were so far ahead of everybody else. It's really not going to impact them whatsoever. Like, the Red Bulls are so much faster than everyone else that despite having an extra pit stop, Perez has actually managed to... come out in front of... I was going to say come out in front of us. He hasn't managed to come out in front of us. But, I mean, let's be honest. He's only come out just behind us, so it's not that much of a difference. Right, so it's the optimum pit lap for Danny Rick, who's predicted to come out actually in 11th. So that's not bad at all. Especially in the fact that we haven't actually decided to push at all on these. And he's been overtaken by Perez. So he will get DRS off of Perez, which is good to see. Norris is very close to his pit stop time as well. And to be honest, we could end up, if we really wanted to, I think pitting Norris maybe a lap or two before. Just because in his situation, I feel like we can afford it. And then end up on the mediums. Or we could end up maybe just one lap before. So we can push a little bit on his hards now. And then we can push on the mediums right at the end of the race. A lot harder than maybe the other drivers can. As Norris has been overtaken by Perez there, which is not ideal. As Danny Rick actually does end up going into the pits. So this is the important part now. Where does Danny Rick end up? Because if he ends up in a decent position and he's on medium tyres, we're going to be great. Because everyone else is on hards. So we should end up in a decent position. We've ended up coming out in 11th, which is quite nice, actually. Exactly where it told us we were going to come out. And not only that, we are now on the medium tyres, the faster tyre. So we will catch up with the other guys, especially a few of them, if you look at their tyres, who might have to pit again, like Alonso and like Tsunoda. I was going to say like Norris, but Norris should end up roughly where Ricciardo is. So, yeah, we should be okay. Perez has actually ended up pitting again for some more medium tyres. I don't know what's going on here with Perez. It's a bit manic, I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't know why he's pitted again, because I wish we could see how many times... Oh, we can see 4 times he's pitted. I don't know why he's pitted again, but he has pitted again. And he's currently behind Ricciardo. So, again, it just proves Ricciardo's in decent position. Norris, however, who I did ignore, needs to go onto his mediums. And he needs to push incredibly hard on everything. He hasn't got far to go off this lap, to be honest with you. Because I wasn't really paying attention, because I was actually paying attention to a different driver who's not even mine, which is saying a lot about my ability on this game, isn't it? Right, we've had a crash and we've had a safety car, which is so frustrating that Norris has come in literally just before the safety car yet again. It's happened again. How does it happen every single time? I really do not know. That's so frustrating. Primarily because we don't really need to pit either of our people. So Magnussen has apparently crashed on turn 12. We're going to see it here. Magnussen, he just locked up and went for it. He went straight into that wall. Jeez Louise, no wonder we need a safety car. That was probably one of the most brutal crashes I've probably seen on this game, I'm not going to lie. That was mental to see. But he is out of this race now. K-Mags is out of the race. He's massively far down. So is Hamilton's still massively far down. But Norris has now come out the pits. Although it hasn't updated here yet. So this is a glitch. This is a massive glitch. But Danny Rick's out there. Currently in 9th. Norris is out in 7th. If only Norris managed to pit a lap later, that would have been incredible. But it does look like no one else might not be going into the pits. It's going to be interesting to see whether they do. Right, I don't know what's going on with Perez, but Perez has pitted again, and this time for the hards. Perez, I think, is a glitch at this point. He's pitted 5 times in this race, and only once has it been necessary because of a crash. I haven't got a clue what's going on with him. The safety car is ending, and the positive here is we're on medium tyres and we can push hard, whereas everyone else is on these harder tyres. So yes, they're going to be able to push, but we're going to be able to push and on better tyres and on quicker tyres. So we might be able to make up a couple of places if they pull this off well. Obviously, no one really knows how a safety car restart is going to go, but hopefully this one goes in our favour, because we've got, on these medium tyres, we've got this opportunity now to really push and to gain some positions quickly. Danny Rick's lost 5 positions. How has Danny Rick lost 5 positions? I know why, because a Williams got in his way. So that's great. I'm glad. I'm really glad that a Williams has got in my guy's way and not moved out the way, even though he's supposed to. So he's got stuck behind. So we've ended up going to the back of the grid with Ricciardo. So Ricciardo's race is now over. Everything I just said about Ricciardo's race and possibly getting a high position, done, dusted. It's all on Norris now. No pressure, Norris, but it's all on you pretty much from now to the end of the race to make up some positions, because Danny Rick is currently fighting to try and get 10th. This is exactly what we wanted to see. Norris overtaking Bottas, getting into 5th. This is what we need. And Norris is in such a distance. If he can get past Gasly here, this is going to be huge, because then he's in this fight for the top 4, where, let's be honest, they're on hard tyres, we're on medium, so that might make up for the difference in the cars. I said we needed Norris to overtake Gasly, and he's done exactly that. He's into the top 4 now. We've got 2 Ferraris and 1 Red Bull to go. There's a slim chance we might be able to get a podium, let alone win the race, but we've got time to do it, so, I mean, we've got to give it a go. And by some miracle, Ricciardo is now in the top 10. So, I know I said Ricciardo was screwed, but maybe he's not as screwed as I first thought. He is in the top 10. He is going to get points unless something goes wrong past here. I mean, It's a massive what if, what could have happened, but at least we're getting something with Danny Ric. Right, so there's been another crash. I wasn't expecting another one, but there has been another one. It seems to be involving Tsunoda and possibly... I haven't got a clue. Is that... I think that's Sainz there getting involved. Yeah, no, Perez, sorry. So it's Perez and Tsunoda that were the people at fault there. It's meant that Ricciardo's actually in a great position right now, because Ricciardo is currently in 8th, which is awesome. There's no safety car, so we haven't got to worry about that. It rules Tsunoda and Perez pretty much out of the rest of this race. So Danny Ric now is fighting for 7th with Russell and possibly can push on even further, while Norris is pushing to try and get a podium. And I think he might be able to do it, you know. He's going to catch them off guard eventually. Well, Danny Ric has taken Russell, which is huge, because now Danny Ric is currently in 7th, which is amazing at this point. The fact that we've got someone in 4th and someone in 7th, and the possibility of Norris getting higher, and the possibility of Ricciardo getting higher. This could be a great end to the race for us. I said that I believe Norris would do it eventually, and he did. He managed to overtake one of them. There was a slip up. They had to slow down because they were going for the exact same gap on the corner, and Norris just swooped in there. He's currently in 3rd place and is on the hunt for 2nd. Right, we're on the final lap now. Norris did end up losing his place back to Leclerc, unfortunately, because of fuel issues. Although, when has fuel issues ever been a problem with me? We have one final push for one final lap. I'm pretty sure Norris is going to do it, but we've got to see if he can. Ricciardo is currently in 7th. He's currently pushing a hell of a lot. This is going to be a very, very interesting final lap for sure. I'm just really hoping, really hoping now that he manages to get on that podium, does Norris, because I think we kind of deserve it. I know that's stupid, but I really do think that we deserve it, and I think we're going to get it on this DRS straight. We need to get it on this straight. We've just got to try our hardest to do it. He's going to get DRS. We know he is. It's just, if he can overtake him here, he's trying for the overtake. He's got DRS, but unfortunately so does Leclerc. We've got to try some sort of move here with Norris. Norris is working really hard. He's managing to undertake... Oh my god, has Norris managed to get both of them? Has Norris managed to secure 2nd in one move? There's no way Norris has managed to secure 2nd in one move. That is incredible. Managing to take both Ferraris at once is goddamn unbelievable by Lando Norris. That is incredible stuff. We pushed and pushed on this final lap, and he managed to do it. He managed to cut them off. We're going to get 2nd, people. We're going to get 2nd with Lando Norris. That's absolutely huge. We started in 4th and 6th, remember. We got boned by the safety car with Norris. It didn't... I don't think it screwed us over too much, but it screwed us over enough. And now Norris is on the hunt for 2nd. He's just got to secure it now. Danny Ric's absolutely in the clear with Russell. So Danny Ric is going to get 7th place. So we're going to end up with 2nd and 7th when starting off in 4th and 6th. I think that's bloody well done by us. Lando Norris, right at the end. He pushed hard. He ran out of fuel right at the very end. I don't care. We managed to push right at the very end. Danny Ric manages to get 7th. Norris manages to get 2nd. Bloody well done, lads. What a performance by Lando Norris. I mean, I said we would need a podium and possibly a race win, and we got a podium. We got a podium, and Hamilton got screwed over. That is huge for McLaren right there. So yeah, as you can see, we got 18 points for Lando Norris, who rose up by 2 positions, and Ricciardo managed to get 6, which is very good. Verstappen managing to go up by 16, Sainz managing to go up by 16. They're just a class above the rest, but yet we managed to take them because we are on the faster tyre, which is what I was hoping for. If you look at the Drivers' Championships, I mean, it's actually quite close between Sainz and Verstappen. But when it comes to Lando Norris is quite comfortable in this 6th position, and Danny Ric is currently in 9th, which is great to see. And in the Constructors, we managed to gain 20 on Mercedes. We are 60 points behind with very few races to go. It's possible, but it's going to take a hell of a shift from our drivers. Right, so there you have it. That is the end of this episode. In the next one, we will have the Mexican Grand Prix and the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, the penultimate episode of the entire series of our one season wonder with McLaren. Please make sure to hit that like button if you have enjoyed this series. Do comment down below how you think we're going to do. Do you think we can overtake Mercedes? That is the big question in our final 3 races. It's going to take a shift, but we can do it. And if you're new here, please do subscribe for more stuff like this, and I shall see all of you in the next video. See ya! Oh, I feel like I've gone 1,000,000 miles per hour. That wasn't even a Formula 1 joke.